Kelly Lorenzen, thank you for coming on the Real Results podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to start by maybe telling me the origin of KLM?
Absolutely. So I've been an entrepreneur in business ownership 20 something years. I won't say exact. Just kidding. And in all the other businesses we own, family businesses, partnerships, what I couldn't find was somebody who thought like a business owner, but who could actually implement on my marketing and my projects that I needed. So we would hire assistants, marketing agencies, project managers, everybody in between. And I couldn't find any. I ended up just keep taking the stuff back, doing it myself, taking it back, doing it myself, hiring.
Yeah.
So when I was trying to decide what I was going to do next, what the next adventure was, my husband said, why don't you just do everything you learned in all the other businesses for other business owners? I was like, genius. Thank you. So we started off as just a, marketing agency.
Right.
And what I quickly found was that just like me, other business owners need to duplicate themselves.
Right.
Right. So they don't have time. They don't have the know-how to train, hire people, delegate, all these things.
Yeah.
So I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a consulting company, a marketing company, a project management company all in one, so that they don't have to go to all these different people, get advice over here, advice over there. And,
Right.
My gosh, no, we're just going to do it all. We're going to come up with the plan together. We're going to, grow the business together. We're going to take the projects off your plate. We're going to become your duplicate.
I love that.
So that you don't have to struggle, because most small businesses don't make it.
Yeah.
So that's the origin of how this all started.
That's awesome.
9 years ago.
Yeah. And, we have a bunch of mutual connections. And like I said, we've worked together on, video projects with my team and you as well. And I'll say, like, everyone raves about you, and just that you are their person that they can lean on. Right. And it's just nice to have that as a small business owner who doesn't have the budget to have a huge team. Right.
Exactly.
But they can outsource to someone like you who can take care of all those things that a big company may have a budget for. Right. And still get those same results. So that's great. You talked about duplicating yourself. Right. What does that mean to you exactly?
So every single business owner, small business owner, at some point in their journey says, oh my gosh, if I could just duplicate myself, I would be fine. Right. So I said, that's exactly what we'll call the website, duplicatemyselfklm.com, because that's what we end up being. It was hard to explain, to most people that you either hire a business consultant, or you hire a marketing agency, or you hire an in-house team, but that wasn't quite right? That didn't fit. But saying that we're business owners duplicates is like your right hand, your left hand,
Right.
whatever which means we can expand with you. We can do pieces of it.
Yeah.
So that's how that came about.
Especially as a small business owner, like I said, who doesn't have a big team, it's really hard to get to that next level without taking a jump, right? It's hard to get to that next level without having those people around you that are going to push you to be better, not only on the output of quality of work, but also just in general, pushing you, keeping you in line. You know what I mean? And that's what I've realized. When I used to shoot video by myself, I thought I could do it all by myself. Right. And I saw other people and what they were doing with video. And, luckily I grew up in the film industry where my dad had this full crew of, 20, 30 people on a huge commercial. I'm like, why do you need that many when I could just shoot it myself? It wasn't until I realized that it's important to have those people like you who come in, push you to do better, show you these things that, you can't really think about yourself, right? Open you up to a new world. And the output of our work was just way better after I realized that. Hired people, took that financial jump, which is a big thing for small business owners, right? It's a risk, but you have to take that risk in order to get to the next level in business. It's absolutely essential. I see, small business owners just do the same thing for 10 years in a row and expect more to come. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't.
You need to, at some point, take a risk to get to that next level. And yeah, I get it. Financials, it sucks when you're a small business owner. You're always trying to chase bills. You're trying to do this and that. But that's part of business.
Absolutely. When any newer business owner, or they've been in business a long time, but running solo or a very small team, we come in and say, what can be delegated immediately? The more you can get off your plate, the more time you have to work on the business, grow the business, think about, get out from the forest for the trees, right? Like come out and go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize you have more time for networking. You have to be the face of your company. You know what I mean? Like you have to do PR, all the video, all these things that if you don't delegate accounting, have an attorney, have a business consultant to tell you all these things, what to do, delegate the marketing, delegate all these things that other people can do for you. And you stick to your zone of genius. Stick to it. And I say my coin phrase is do what you love and outsource everything else, because the faster you get off that stuff off your plate, you have room mentally, energetically to create and to build. Yeah. And that's the only way small businesses can grow is if they can sustain and grow steadily. Yeah.
Yeah, and it gives you that capacity to think bigger, right? And so if you've ever read the book Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, have you?
No.
Great book, but it talks about that, right? Delegating. And it tells you, the reason I love that book is because I'm a little bit of an analytical thinker, right? When it comes to numbers, right? At what point can I afford to hire a new person? At what point can I afford, to delegate this or that? What this book does is it's a great guide for that. It tells you, it literally tells you when you hit this revenue, this is what you can afford. And it breaks it down into ratios. And also it talks about how you have to get to that point where you delegate. And even if you can't afford, even if you're a little bit behind that ratio, sometimes it's good to take that jump because it gives you, like you said, that capacity to think bigger, right? And if you're not thinking bigger as the owner, as the CEO, if you're not thinking creatively, then you can't focus on growing the business, growing it, right?
Exactly.
And so people get caught up in that, I need to do everything because I need to make the profit. But the reality is when you're starting out, profit, yes, it's important, but it's not the most important thing if you're not growing, if you're just staying static at the same level, right?
Exactly. I always tell people, hire before you really need it.
Yeah.
You will make the income to make up for that hire every time. Yeah. And a lot of times clients come to us because they don't know who to hire first. So we look at all the numbers, we look at all the things and we say, okay, based on your tasks, based on what are you really good at, here's all the things we can take off your plate. Does it make sense to hire an admin? Does it make sense to hire an internal team, outsource some of this stuff, get rid of bookkeeping immediately? Everybody is the first thing they should get rid of. So it's nice to be able to help people figure that out because it's too hard to do on your own. You just don't know. I mean, without reading and resources and all these things, you just don't know.
And just running a business in general is hard. It's hard, right? And you don't really understand until you become an entrepreneur, right? And I know you've had such a tough journey. If you don't want to get into it, that's fine. But I want to talk a little bit about just the importance of self-resilience and your journey through that and, why it's important to take care of yourself through this hard journey of being an entrepreneur, right?
The roller coaster ride of entrepreneurship.
My God. It's always, yes.
We just wrote a book. I think that's one of my first lines in the book. Talk about the roller coaster ride.
Right.
So the other side of the delegation is not just for growth. It is for self-preservation. It is for self-care. Part of taking care of yourself is having days off, having time off, time blocking so that you can take time off. Yeah. And most entrepreneurs are in the grind so badly that they don't come up for air until it's too late. Yeah. I did it so many times in so many businesses to the point where it was just too much. My stomach couldn't take it. I couldn't, made myself really sick. Yeah. And had to close or sell the business because I didn't know enough ahead of time about self-care, about delegation, about, offloading stuff off your plate, about taking time to do things you love, have the creativity, all the things that we teach now. And so when it came to this business, luckily I had done at that point 15 to 20 years of personal and professional development, got breast cancer. Yeah. Easy. And it sounds trite, but I got through it so easy because I'd been through it so many other times and I learned my lessons.
Built up that immunity.
Built up the self-care, ahead of time, built the team, built the community, built everything that I knew. That it didn't work the first 3 times I did it in the other businesses. I was like, I'm not doing that again. I can't keep doing that again. Yeah. So in this business, it was so nice to be prepared. It's like an insurance policy. Mm-hmm. You're, having the community in place, your team in place, already delegating the stuff is an insurance policy in case for the worst. Yeah. When you have to take time off, most people probably in the surgeries I had probably would have taken months off. Yeah. I was 2 weeks, I was done, back at it, but because I had already built up, even just working out, even exercise, having the stamina to get through all that. Mm-hmm. There's so many things with entrepreneurship. It's not just, It's not just the budget. Yeah. It's not just the team. It's building that personal and professional development toolkit, as I call it. Yeah. Got to have your tool belt. Yeah. Your mindset training was another huge one that got me through that. I mean, because you think you're going to die and all these things, you're like, so I said I had a toddler in my brain. It had to be constantly redirected like a 2-year-old. Yeah. Come on, let's go this way. Come on, let's go this way. But I had those tools there. I already had the toolkit. Yeah. So.
I'm relating to this so much, and I'm sure everyone watching is as well that's an entrepreneur. We all have these like crazy things that happen to our mind and our body while we are an entrepreneur. And again, I said this earlier, but you don't understand it until you're an entrepreneur. And you're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, you have these like crazy thoughts, like, am I gonna die? Am I too stressed? Like, and you throw up and like you get stressed. Yeah. Like all these weird things happen to your body. And it's like I said, it's one of the hardest things, one of the hardest jobs, but at the same time, it's the most rewarding. Yeah. And it's like, you're giving up that, but now you have your freedom, right? So it's really a path. And the reality of entrepreneurship is that, my family's entrepreneurs, every person in my family has been an entrepreneur. They always say like, when I'm going through hard times, they're like, listen, it is never going to stop. Ever.
You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
You have to become, it's never going to stop. So you either quit, which isn't an option, or you get used to it and you build up that immunity. How do you get used to it? Like you said, self-care, working out at the gym, doing hard things, because doing hard things teaches you lessons. It builds up your discipline and it keeps you, grounded. Right. And so that's beautiful. And we talked a little bit about like time management, right? So maybe we don't have time to work out as an entrepreneur. Maybe we don't have time to focus on these self-care activities. How do you make time for that? And obviously I'm sure delegation has to do with it, but are there any other methods, I guess?
Putting it in your schedule, having a visual representation of each thing that needs to happen. And I have my calendar is my to-do list, and self-care is in there. Working out is in there. It's a necessity.
Yeah.
Mental well-being, physical well-being to keep going. It is an absolute necessity. And so it's putting in time for all of that and I color code it. So I know how much time I'm spending personally, how much time I'm spending working.
Love that.
What's the purples of the gym, or the exercise, like seeing that keeps myself accountable, but also have accountability partners. Your business consultant can also remind you, your coach can also remind you, are you doing your self-care? Are you taking care of yourself? And delegation is one of the biggest things. The more you offload, the more time you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I kind of want to shift now into marketing, right? Because you're obviously a marketing genius, Kelly, but I want to pick your brain a little bit on, what are the trends that you're seeing in the coming years, right? There's AI, there's different types of video content, there's different types of advertising and platforms that are coming out with all these tools, and a lot of stuff happening for a business owner to just like try to do marketing or advertising now is like, whoa, like how do I even work these tools? So what are kind of the trends you see, and maybe some advice you could give for business owners that want to step up their marketing in today's world?
Visibility is key. And it's going to continue to be. Authenticity it's coming back around.
Yeah.
I think we lost it for a little while.
Yeah.
People focusing on what their numbers look like for, all the socials and everything. It's not it. It's back to relationships, back to authenticity, being the face of your company. I think business owners I tell people, you get into business ownership to do the thing you love, to do the thing that you started the business for. Nobody gets into business ownership to do the marketing. They hate it. They go, marketing, yuck, right? Luckily, I am one out of 100 million probably that loves marketing.
Yeah.
And when we say marketing, everybody has a different understanding of that, right? So knowing that branding your brand is the why, right? It's the long lasting, it's the feeling people get, right? You are your brand, which is why you need to be the face as a small business owner, right? Of your brand, why you need to do video, right? Why you need to showcase your expertise out loud.
Yeah.
But people buy from people. People buy from brands that they can trust, that feeling they get when they shop there, when they spend their money in that. So that's branding. Marketing is just the vehicle, right? It's the how. It's how are you going to get the people you want to come to your store, which is your website for most small businesses, right? They don't have an actual storefront. Some of them do, great. But you are your brand, and your website and your marketing is the vehicle that's going to bring your audience to you.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can do the sales. Yeah. So I think that's needs to be understood, like the distinction between all of them, because people get confused of what marketing is.
You talk about that personal connection. It's so important because you can spend like, $500,000 on advertising, on billboards and TV commercials and this and that. You could put yourself out there as much as you want, but if that content or that stuff, the things that you're advertising are not emotional, they don't form a bond with the viewer, with your ideal customer, it doesn't matter how much money you spend on the advertising, it's not going to work, right? Think about it just in your real life, right? Say, like I know a lawyer, right? I'm friends with a lawyer. If I ever get into a situation, I'm going to use him because I know him. I have a personal connection with him. I know him as a friend, and I have this bond with him. I'm not going to use, Raffi Law Group, who's on every freaking billboard, and they spent $1 million in advertising. And I'm sure many of you watching as well, right? So think about that. It doesn't matter how much you spend on advertising. What matters is, do you have a personal connection with your ideal audience? And it doesn't have to be everyone, right? Because if you advertise to everyone, then you're just wasting money on people who don't matter, right? I shouldn't say people who don't matter.
No,
but you know what I'm saying.
Your ideal
right?
audience, right?
Your ideal audience. That's what I'm saying. So you're not going to go with that, big company. You're going to go with a person you know and you trust. Same thing with marketing, right? If your marketing does not form a bond with your ideal customer, they are not going to want to buy from you.
You have to solve their problem, right? You have to, it has to solve a problem that they're having.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, in marketing is the follow up and follow through.
Yeah.
This is not just because you put out there and do all these things. If you do not follow up, follow through, do good business,
right,
be a good human, all these things, that's going to be, people are going to go, the brand. It's going to affect your brand.
Right.
Right. So it all kind of plays a role. Perception is reality.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite phrases. People's perception of you is their reality.
Exactly. And that's why you need to have that CRM set up, right? That's why you need to customer relationship management tool set up, because you need to do those follow-ups regularly. Right? Because that's really how you form a bond with someone. Right. The video is great. And that can, form an emotional connection that you can put those online to have people, know you on a personal level. But when they submit their form or their lead that gets put into the CRM, that's really where the bread and butter comes in. That's where the relationship starts forming and bonding is, now I have you in our CRM. We can follow up with you. We know, how you're doing. Hey, do you need some tips? Right. So I saw you posted this, here's some advice, or like, I love what you did here. So just those little things are really what's going to make your lead into a sale.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And that's why we do a lot of CRM implementation projects. But people even don't think about looking at your website as your storefront and even checking the contact us page. Does the form get to your email?
Yeah. Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's not even a thought in small businesses' brain, because they're worried about, how am I keeping the doors open, the lights on? How am I paying my people? How am I all these other things? They shouldn't have to think about the marketing.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah. And a lot of the times people don't realize in small business, it's like those little things that will turn your leads into sales. Like you said, just sending people an email, following up, or even like if someone views your profile on LinkedIn, sending them a message. If someone likes your Instagram post, send them a message. Hey, thanks for the support.
Yeah.
Right. Like those little things people don't realize, but they put that person who liked your post or who viewed your profile over the edge to be like, oh, this, maybe like I'll chat with this person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People don't think about those things because, like you said, they're small business owners. They're worried about those things.
They have way too many other things to worry about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Way too many other things to worry about. Everyone has the question of, how do you track ROI in marketing today? Right. Do you have methods for that?
You have to set up yourself for success in the brand, right? Do all the things that we talked about, the feeling and all the things, right? How you follow up and all these things to set the tone, to be the brand. And then use the vehicle to, and most of the time, fortunately, unfortunately, we have to throw everything out there, track it, see what people are coming to you from. And then as you track it, when anybody calls you or anybody fills out your form, how did you hear about us? How did you hear about us? Really dig into the analytics yourself or your team, right? When they're answering the phone, how did you hear about us, right? And tracking that will help you know how much to spend moving forward year over year on those particular things. Yeah. For example, when we had the medical practice, we were 36% of our people coming in were referring doctors. We got that by doing these certain things in marketing and business development. Yeah. We got it up to 54%.
Wow.
How do I know those exact numbers? Because every single person that called in, how did you hear about us? And we did everything. Unfortunately, you have to kind of put an umbrella. You have to do a little bit of everything to know what's going to work the best for you.
Yeah.
And in small business, a lot of the time, it's networking.
Yeah.
It's being out there in your community and doing the face-to-face and getting to know people and figuring out, who to do business with. Not just finding your own clients. I'm talking about finding the referral partnerships, finding the people that will refer you back and forth like us, that you don't have to go out and get every single client yourself. Well, we know each other. I know you do a good job. We're just move it,
exactly.
But we wouldn't have done that. We wouldn't have known each other if it wasn't for the human connection, if it wasn't for the actual being out there networking.
Exactly. Yeah. And I want to make it clear to people, especially business owners, is networking is kind of a daunting thing, right? And I want to networking doesn't have to be these just networking events that you kind of force yourself. If you're an introvert, for example, you know that it's really hard to put yourself out in those situations. It's I don't want to go to this networking event, every single event. I want to make it clear that it doesn't have to be like that, right? Just finding those places that, successful people who are building their brand and building their companies like you are, and finding out where they hang out and making sure that's a place that you like, right? To just be in a place that you feel comfortable in, like a bar or a cigar lounge or, a golf club even. Right. There's so many successful people who are building their companies there that can grow with you if you get to know them. Right. And so that's the beauty of networking. It doesn't have to be this one thing where you're going to these events that you're forcing yourself to go to that you don't want to go to. Right. It can also be that. It can be those environments where, you're comfortable in. You enjoy golfing, you enjoy smoking cigars, you enjoy drinking, having a drink here and there. So why not put yourself in those environments if you're an introvert? And so, that's just a little bit of a tangent, but I'm an introvert. So I feel like I have to say that is don't feel pressured when it comes to networking.
And networking is not all one size fits all. It's, there are so many groups.
Yeah.
I tell clients, pick 3 things. 1 nonprofit to be a part of, 1 networking, and 1 community.
Yeah.
If you have that good combination, you will never not have business.
That's right. Yep.
Never.
Yeah. And I'm so happy that I got to have you on Pick Your Brain, Kelly. Seriously, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Are there any socials you want to plug, a book, website, anything like that?
Our website's duplicatemyselfklm.com, and we are on every social channel. Duplicate Myself KLM is our handle, and we wrote a book. It's coming out this year. Big party coming. Awesome. On entrepreneurship. There's, lean on your community, lean on people that have been there, done that. Surround yourself with people smarter than you, as I always do, so that you don't have to struggle alone. We shouldn't, and we don't have to be in this journey by ourselves in a silo. Absolutely. I hear that way too much, and it's not a necessity. So find your community and reach out to people and ask for help.
Thank you, Kelly. Seriously, you're amazing.
Thank you.
You're amazing.
You're sweet.
Awesome. All right. Until next time.